Biopics, particularly musical ones, seem to be gaining in popularity once again, with films like Oppenheimer and, more recently, A Complete Unknown receiving rave reviews. This genre can certainly be powerful when done right, bringing a fascinating person to life on screen and helping the viewer understand what made them tick. Biopics allow viewers to experience history through a deeply personal lens, the epitome of what Roger Ebert called cinema's function as an empathy machine.
With this in mind, this list considers some of the must-watch biopics. They represent this format at its very best, serving as not just history lessons but powerful narratives that capture the essence of their subjects. These movies cut away the distance of history and make their protagonists feel immediate and relevant once more. The finest of them manage to be hugely entertaining at the same time.
Number 10, Lincoln.
Do we choose to be born? Or are we fitted to the times we're born into?
Steven Spielberg pulled off an impressive feat with his portrait of America's greatest president. Lincoln follows the final months of Abraham Lincoln's, Daniel Day-Lewis, life as he fights to pass the 13th Amendment and bring an end to slavery in the United States. With the Civil War still raging, Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis, faces opposition from political rivals and within his own party as he navigates the delicate and morally complex process of securing enough votes to change the Constitution.
The film is intricate and meticulous, if occasionally a little dry. This is an immersive, disciplined, and refreshingly cerebral historical drama, leaning into complexity rather than mythologizing. The director is utterly confident and assured here, as is his star. Day-Lewis turns in a towering performance exuding gravitas, rightly earning him his third Best Actor Oscar.
Number 9, Capote.
It's as if Barry and I grew up in the same house. And one day, he stood up and went out the back door, and I went out the front.
Capote chronicles the period in which famed writer Truman Capote, Philip Seymour Hoffman, researched and wrote his groundbreaking true crime book, In Cold Blood. As he investigates a brutal murder and gains the trust of one of the killers, Perry Smith, Clifton Collins Jr., Capote becomes emotionally entangled in the story, blurring the line between journalistic curiosity and personal obsession.
This isn't just a period drama but a haunting character study that explores the cost of artistic ambition. The film captures Capote's descent with remarkable precision, emphasizing the weight of his choices rather than casting judgment outright. It succeeds because Hoffman is so great. His performance is a masterclass in restraint and evolution, revealing new layers to the writer as the story unfolds.
Number 8, Malcolm X.
We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Malcolm X follows the activist and revolutionary Denzel Washington, from his troubled youth and time in prison to his transformation into a powerful leader of the Nation of Islam and, later, his break from the organization. Spike Lee presents a nuanced portrait of the man and his ever-changing vision for Black liberation.
The movie doesn't shy away from the contradictions and evolution in Malcolm's beliefs, making it one of the most thorough and thought-provoking biopics ever made. This is reflected in its grand scope. The film spans its subject's entire life, clocks in at over 3 hours, and even features a cameo from Nelson Mandela. Washington rises to the occasion with a career-defining performance, capturing Malcolm X's fiery rhetoric, magnetic presence, and personal struggles. Those curious to learn more about him should also check out the terrific book The Dead Are Arising, published in 2020.
Number 7, Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters.
真を尽くし、佐藤は攻撃し、圧倒し、奪い、そして最終的に破壊するものである。
One of the strongest works by writer-director Paul Schrader, Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters tells the story of Japanese writer Yukio Mishima, Ken Ogata, a fascinating and flawed figure, whose life was closely bound up with the country's transformations after World War II. Mishima detested what he saw as the materialism of modern Japan, turning to increasingly extreme and reactionary ideologies in protest.
Schrader takes an artistic approach to the biopic genre, using bold colors, theatrical set designs, and a mesmerizing score by Philip Glass to blend reality with fiction. This reflects Mishima's own worldview, in which truth, fantasy, and delusion all coexisted. This avant-garde structure works well, heightening the film's impact. Not for nothing, Schrader himself considers it to be his best work as a filmmaker. "It's the one I'd stand by," he has said. As a screenwriter, it's Taxi Driver, but as a director, it's Mishima.
Number 6. Patton.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser.
Patton examines the life and career of General George S. Patton, George C. Scott, one of the most controversial and brilliant figures of World War II. The movie delves into his triumphs and setbacks, from his leadership in North Africa to his clashes with military superiors over his aggressive tactics and unfiltered opinions. Scott's electrifying performance as Patton is legendary, nailing the man's larger-than-life personality and relentless drive.
The film is also famous for its opening scene, in which Patton delivers a speech in front of a giant American flag, often ranked among the greatest monologues in cinema. Overall, Patton has a traditionalist aesthetic but resists simple hero worship, instead poking at the contradictions of a man who thrived in war but never fully belonged within the rigid structures of the military world he dominated. This approach subtly reinforces the paradox of his legacy.
Number 5. The Elephant Man.
I am not an animal. I am not an animal. I am a human being.
The Elephant Man tells the heartbreaking true story of Joseph Merrick, John Hurt, a severely deformed man who was mistreated as a sideshow attraction before being rescued by Dr. Frederick Treves, Anthony Hopkins. He forms friendships, proves his intelligence, and gains the acceptance of high society, but never truly escapes the prejudices of the world around him.
This film is deeply moving, particularly in the moments of quiet kindness, anchored by strong performances. The script is sensitive but clear-eyed about human cruelty. Visually, The Elephant Man wows with its stark black-and-white cinematography by Freddie Francis, who also worked on The Innocents and Cape Fear. Then there's Christopher Tucker's extraordinary prosthetic work, drawing on casts of the real Merrick's body. The elaborate makeup required hours to apply each day. Tucker's efforts were so impressive that they directly led to the Academy Awards adding a category for Best Makeup.
Number 4. Raging Bull.
You never got me down, Ray. You never got me down.
Raging Bull is Martin Scorsese's account of the rise and fall of middleweight boxing champion Jake LaMotta, Robert De Niro, a man whose ferocity in the ring was matched only by his self-destructive rage outside of it. The focus is on LaMotta's volatile relationships with his wife Vicky, Kathy Moriarty, and his brother Joey, Joe Pesci. As his violent tendencies drive away those closest to him, LaMotta finds himself alone, a broken man reflecting on a life of missed opportunities.
Scorsese strips away the comforting explanations that often accompany biopics, laying bare his subject's brutality and fury, complemented by the intense black-and-white cinematography. The boxing sequences are choreographed like ballets of brutality, while the film's quieter moments reveal a tragic character incapable of change. In the end, Raging Bull isn't just a sports movie, it is a searing examination of damaged masculinity and personal demons left unchecked.
Number 3. Amadeus.
Ik bin der Schutzpatron der Mittelmusik.
Amadeus offers a dazzling and unconventional portrait of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Tom Hulce, told through the envious eyes of his bitter rival, Antonio Salieri, F. Murray Abraham. It's a lavish and darkly humorous film that plays fast and loose with historical accuracy but never strays from its thematic brilliance. This movie is proof that, in a great filmmaker's hands, biopics need not be entirely factual in order to succeed.
Director Milos Forman is on top form here, crafting a sumptuous tale that embraces chaos, irreverence, and humor while still building toward a deeply felt tragedy. He imagines Mozart as closer to a rock star than a relic of history. On the acting side, F. Murray Abraham's Oscar-winning performance captures the agony of mediocrity in the face of genius, while Hulse brings a kinetic energy to Mozart. It adds up to one of the most enjoyable period pieces ever.
Number 2, Oppenheimer.
They won't fear it until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it.
The most recent entry into the biopic pantheon is Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's time-twisting look at the life of physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy, the father of the atomic bomb. The narrative structure is as ingenious as one would expect from the director, moving between Oppenheimer's early scientific breakthroughs, the intense secrecy of the Manhattan Project, and the eventual government hearings that sought to discredit him.
The story is an important one, with much relevance to our current moment in time, where nuclear saber-rattling seems to be on the rise. But this is also a very human tale about one man grappling with the implications of his actions. The performances are stellar across the board, but it's Murphy who elevates things, bringing Oppenheimer to vivid life. Taken together, Oppenheimer is urgent and larger than life, built for the biggest of screens, more of an experience than a regular movie.
And number 1, the 1962 3-hour epic biographical adventure drama film, Lawrence of Arabia.
The trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts.
Perhaps the most influential biopic ever, Lawrence of Arabia is an epic retelling of the life of T. Lawrence, Peter O'Toole, the British officer who played a pivotal role in the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire during World War I. As he leads the local forces to victory, he grapples with questions of identity, loyalty, and the intoxicating pull of power.
O'Toole brings complexity to Lawrence, portraying him as both heroic and deeply troubled. That said, the real draw here is the visuals. David Lean's sweeping cinematography captures the vast and unforgiving desert landscapes, creating one of the most visually stunning films ever made. Not to mention, he serves up cinema's most striking match cut, with Lawrence playing out a match and then cutting to the blazing desert sun. It's a film of breathtaking scope, visual grandeur, and narrative ambition, the kind of epic that defines what the big screen was made for.